I think the mining issue and labor relations are a clear symptom of the advances we've made when it comes to where we've matured South Africa's democracy post-apartheid. Let's understand that apartheid structured labor sending centers. So in essence, provinces like the Eastern Cape, etc., exist in many ways to send labor into mining areas. What that creates is that in fact you've got society A as that becomes unstable, but B, you've got new housing challenges. And so without fail, mining houses have been allowed for far too long to create this dormitory environment, and along with that, in the new structurings of the wage deals, giving people inferior accommodation. So we have to, A, deal with what happens at dysfunctional provinces. So we've got to make sure that people don't necessarily have to feel they've got to migrate kilometers to other provinces to find work. We must be able to create development in the relevant provinces as a starting place. The second issue is that when it comes to the issue of mining, we've got to deal with how labor relations and unions engage in the mining sector. Part of the challenge there is that we've got this piece of legislation that in fact sometimes allows certain unions to be able to deduct money from workers all across without necessarily even creating the relevant thresholds. That's why we argue that we must repeal Section 18 of the Labor Relations Act, so that we can ensure that people have voluntary membership towards unions, and that unions can be able to bargain in the right framework, so that you're not giving one union power over another, as we saw between the tension between AMCU and NUM. But I think equally so, we must understand that the prospective issues of labor relations must be about what we put in the hands of the person who's working in the mine. It's not good enough that people who take our most precious resources out of the ground don't have share ownership of the very mines they work in. We must be able to create, if we talk about BEE that works, at least partly, we should have given more shares to the people who work in the mines. And then ultimately, and this is where I have to ask the minister, is that in part, we must decide on a leadership around mining. Who gives leadership to that issue? I can't see how sustainable it is that you have a government on one end and unions on the other end, and when it suits them, they're together, and when it doesn't, there's this tension. The alliance is creating this tension where we actually don't know when a government policy is in place, the alliance repeals it in the back door. So we got to decide on that, because it's crippling the leadership in the mining sector.
Thank you, Mmusi Maimane. You've gone